Hello, everyone. Your host for today is going to be Dr. Doreen Galli. Dr. Galli is a distinguished analyst, IBM master inventor, professional speaker, author, Toastmaster, former executive at IBM, Dell, AT&T, DPWN, and CTO on MCI Get Azure at Microsoft. She has 6 degrees, including computer science PhD from the University of Waterloo, and has 8 patents owned by IBM and 2 more pending with Microsoft. Dr. Galli was a global Fortune 10 officer, CIO, and CTO before the age of 40 at Deutsche Post WorldNet, known as DHL in the States. As an executive, she has led significant, measurable, and impactful results at IBM, Dell, and AT&T. For the past 2 years, Dr. Galli was the platform architect at Microsoft Azure. She also was CTO in Azure over MCI Get. MCI Get stands for Microsoft Cloud for Industries Global Expansion and Transformation. Dr. Galli was trained as an analyst by Gartner, where technical professionals considered an expert in data ingestion, integration, quality governance management in all forms of analytics and all forms of data, including sensor data and IoT data. To add to Dr. Galli's accomplishments, she has written multiple books and is known for her book, Distributed Operating Systems, Concepts and Practice, published in 1999. And if you like, you can purchase her book on Amazon. And with that, I will pass it to you, Doreen.
Thank you, Rika. By 2028, generative AI will reach a global market size of $51.8 billion, according to Markets and Markets. Pitchfork said that big tech and venture capital firms invested $10.68 billion in generative AI in 2023. SourceGraph says that 95% of all developers admit to using AI to produce new code for software applications. 86% of all IT leaders expect generative AI to play a prominent role in their operations, according to Salesforce. According to OpenAI, there are 2 million developers working on building apps on top of OpenAI. Greetings from fabulous Las Vegas. Welcome to Industry Whispers, generative AI in production, lessons learned. So we'll start off with a quick introduction over some of the terms. I'll introduce our speakers, and then we'll dive right into the amazing questions that you, the audience, had submitted. So today we're talking about generative AI. Artificial intelligence is the type of computer science where you train the computer instead of programming it. Machine learning or ML models are used to identify patterns without human intervention. Behind the scenes, it's a lot of multivariate algebra, all this stuff we learned in school that we love so much. Natural language processing is the type of artificial intelligence used to define human language. In and around anything around human language, artificial intelligence is natural language processing. Today, we're talking about large language models, which is the type of generative AI and the type of machine learning model and a subset of natural language processing. It's involved with text prediction, text generation, sentiment analysis, and is a form of deep learning. Now, for the most part, all forms of deep learning happen in the cloud. If you're looking at deploying it on the edge, you have to use a smaller large language model. As long as it's in the cloud, though, when you can reach the cloud, you're good to go. Large language models is the first type of neural network we'll look at. It uses a transformer architecture, which is a set of neural networks, and it uses a statistical model to determine which branch they take. CNNs are the type of neural network or deep learning used for image processing, dealing with spatial hierarchies, and RNNs are the type of neural networks used for time series data. Now, time series data is the type of data you get from all your machines in manufacturing, distribution, networks, and IoT solutions. Due to the sequential nature of RNNs, they do have difficulty in achieving parallelization, as you might expect. Now we have our pre-trained models, which are the self-supervised training on vast amounts of data, and our general knowledge syntax and semantics, which is foundational. We have our fine-tuned models, which is when you take your pre-trained model and you adapt it to a specific task. Now, if your model involves multiple forms, such as text, image, and audio, then it's a multimodal model. That's a mouthful. Now, at this point, we'll introduce our first speaker. I'm not sure if we've had difficulty or if he was able to achieve on, but I want to make sure we introduce him. We first met Stefan Mueller when we were working with CES. So any clients or subscribers or followers, when we covered CES, you would have met Stefan. He is the co-founder and CTO of Flowit, a Swiss HR tech startup. Flow is a GenAI powered people development platform that drives employee engagement and reduces employee churn. Prior to joining Flowit, Stefan obtained a master's degree from ETH Zurich in data science, with a focus on theoretical data science, and in particular, generative networks, and worked in AI consulting, completing various projects in the space of recommender systems and natural language processing. Isha Joshi is the co-founder and chief product officer at Yoodli, an AI-powered speech coach. Her dream is to help women become more confident communicators so they can get opportunities they deserve. After struggling with public speaking for many years, Isha is now a former Toastmaster speaking champion and Grace Hopper keynote speaker. She's passionate about helping others become the best communicators they can be. Prior to Yoodli, Isha worked at Apple in engineering and product management capacities to help launch Apple TV Plus. We met Ofer at our coverage of Contact and Call Center. He's the CEO of Tomato.ai, or do you say Tomato? Tomato.ai is a speech Gen A startup that raised $10 million to soften accents on calls in real time. Previously, he led a virtual agent startup with Google's Area 120 incubator, in which he closed over $500 million in call center AI deals. Prior to that, Ofer led and sold a developer tool startup to Google and an ad network startup to IAC. He holds an MS/BS in computer engineering from the University of Michigan and an MBA from Cornell. Ofer, the floor is yours.
Tomato.ai and Tomato changes accents on calls. So someone with a heavy accent is made to sound like themselves, but with less accent. We have a zero-shot model, meaning there's no pre-training. It just works out the gate for any new voice. And it's generative AI in the sense that we actually generate someone's voice in real time. As they speak, we generate it, but make them sound more lightly accented. My co-founder and I worked at Google, where we led contact center AI work. We built some of the largest, most used voice virtual agents. When you call AT&T or Verizon, you speak to the voice virtual agent we built by modeling millions of past conversations. So this is our latest startup. Each of us has previously sold a startup to Google. The reason accent matters is because there's observed negative effects. When people speak with an accent, unfortunately, there's less comprehensibility that's been shown, and they're not seen as truthful or competent. There's also issues around recall afterwards. All this makes it so that in the call center, it's less effective. And so if we can improve on that, make people more clear and trustworthy in the call center setting, it goes a long way. And so we do accent softening. We also improve voice quality, and we reduce the background noise. So if there's other people speaking around the agent, we'll remove those other speakers. Here's an example of an agent, the original voice, and then how they could have sounded.
I do really apologize for that, but I may know what method I usually.
And this is what they could have sounded like.
I do really apologize for that, but I may know what method I usually.
Or here's an Indian agent.
I have to call the hotel if hotel allows to cancel this reservation and the supplier allows to cancel the reservation. I have to call the hotel if hotel allows to cancel this reservation and the supplier allows to cancel the reservation.
So that's the idea, and this can go a long way in the call center. We're starting to do pilots with some of the biggest offshoring companies. I think later in the Q&A, I can talk more about this as per people's interest. But with that, I'll hand it back to Doreen.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ofer. And I believe we have Isha on as well. Isha, are you fully on where you're able to communicate?
Hello, yes. Can you all hear me and see me okay?
We can. Would you like to share? We had introduced your background before when you weren't on, but would you like to tell us what you did in terms of how you deployed generative AI for Yoodli?
Sure, yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Isha Joshi. I am one of the co-founders of Yoodli. With Yoodli, we are trying to build a Grammarly for speech. It is a generative AI application to help people become more confident communicators, public speakers, interviewers. Anytime you are asking somebody out on a date or projecting confidence, Yoodli is your go-to solution to help with that. We are a small startup based, small seed stage startup based in Seattle, and have been working for the last year or so building generative AI into the product. So the way that you can use this right now is you can come and practice for an upcoming speech or presentation or interview, and you'll get feedback on your tone, pitch, intonation, use of disfluencies, structure, content, conciseness, body language, posture, and gesture.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So Kevin is the co-founder and CEO of Birch.ai, a leader in automating complex workflows in healthcare and other high compliance call centers. Birch.ai is a venture-backed spinout from the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence, one of the country's leading AI research organizations. Previously in his career, Kevin worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency and the CIA, GE Capital, McKinsey & Company Global Healthcare Practice, and is an independent consultant across the healthcare sector. He's also led business development for healthcare for the Austin-based AI startup Spark Cognition. Outside of work, Kevin co-founded Start Reading Now, a research-based nonprofit that addresses summer setback and achievement gap by funding thousands of young kids each year to buy their own personal library of 30 books. And if you look into the statistics of the improvement they get per dollar for the kids, it's absolutely amazing. He was a German and political science major at the University of Nebraska and completed his MBA in the University of Minnesota. With that, I say we dive into our questions. Let me see. So I have Ofer and Isha available. So the first question is to Ofer, how much data and how often do you need to refresh to make it good for decisions, to make good decisions?
So yeah, with AI startups, data is a big part of doing business. You need a good amount of budget to buy data and train models. And there's always this feeling like if I had 10x more data, it'd be so much better. And it's a real challenge to get that 10x step up. And so what you do is you do a best effort with the data you can get, and you try to get from wherever you can. It's a combination of public sources, but also private vendors that you buy from. And then based on that, you raise more money. Based on early results, you raise more money so you can go even bigger. So that's generally like my experience. I think OpenAI is known especially for how aggressive they were at getting data, even if it wasn't exactly above board with proper permissions. And then they apologize later. So anyway, that's my take on that.
Excellent. And I believe Stefan has joined. So thank you, Stefan, for joining. Did you want to take your first question? You might want to give in a background in terms of how you deployed at the same time, in terms of how to get started with generative AI and data science, as well as let us know how you deployed generative AI. I'd already gave you a formal background before you entered.
Yeah, okay, sure. Thanks, Doreen. Okay, I'm sorry for the late joining, some technical problems. Good. Okay, so I'll start with how we use GenAI at Flowit. So there's actually 3 use cases which we have. So in one, we use GenAI. So maybe I should give some background on Flowit before I start. So we're a Swiss-based startup. We call ourselves or our product the operating system for GenAI powered people development. So we're in the people development space. Some of you may be familiar with Workday or SAP SuccessFactors. We're that, but just for frontline and non-desktop workers. So our platform is simple, or we have our platform as simple as it gets, and we use GenAI also to achieve this. So the different use cases that we have is one, we use GenAI for assistance and empowerment. So how can we make processes or simplify processes for our end users? So this is giving them like additional tools to their hand. So for example, one of our modules we offer on our platform is for doing end of year appraisals. And there we use GenAI to create form templates, which can, based on psychological background information, which we provide to our models using retrieval augmented generation. I don't know if you've touched upon that topic yet in the last half hour. So that's one point. And the second point is we use GenAI to analyze text data. So we get a lot of text answers, and we can then use GenAI to analyze this data and like prepare concise answers on main pain points which have been found over a large data set, and then also go even one step further and provide recommended actions to a HR department in our case on how to act upon these pain points that were identified. So that may be how we use GenAI Flowit. Then to get to your question that you asked with how to get started with GenAI. So I don't know, the other panelists, if you use mainly pre-trained models or say GPT, Gemini, and base your product on that, or if you do training from scratch. I've often seen that, well, it doesn't make sense to train models from scratch. So we have a lot of very good models that have, say, work very well for general tasks. So first step, I would say, is get hands-on experience with different language models. So they all behave slightly differently. So that would be GPT, OpenAI's GPT, Gemini by Google, also Claude by Anthropic, then different ways in which we can augment them or make them better. So two approaches, fine-tuning, and what I mentioned already with retrieval augmented generation, and also learn about limitations of these models. So hallucinations and bias are main points that come to mind here. And then, yeah, one also super interesting topic. This was all very language specific, but what's coming up is more and more topic of multimodality and alignment. So that would be like the path that I would suggest you go on when first facing GenAI as a data scientist.
Excellent. So get started with the text and the pre-trained models, and then go from there. Fantastic. Now, in terms of getting started, Kevin had mentioned that he was comfortable answering the one, what was your tech stack? How did you select your tech stack? And what did you have to buy from the cloud platform in order to support what you did with your GenAI solution?
Yeah, so again, Birch.ai, what we do is we automate complex after-call work in healthcare settings and other high compliance environments. So medical device customer service, as an example, where the FDA is mandating post-market surveillance, which is understanding what's happening with your patients out in the field. You can find summaries that come off of our phone calls on the FDA website 5 days later, a week later. In terms of how we built the tech stack, technical co-founder Yinhan Liu, lead author of the Roberta paper, BART papers coming out of Facebook AI Research. So, our tech stack we're building off of, primordial soup, if you will, of large language models there. And then we built our own speech to text application that's healthcare specific, because we found everything that was in the marketplace was a combination of way too expensive and not very good. So we built our own model using open source frameworks all the way through. We pre-train basically all of our models to be healthcare specific, and then we fine tune our models on customer data to replicate the performance of humans. And from there, then we work to improve actually what the humans are doing in a systematic way that gives you better quality, cheaper, faster over time.
Excellent. So definitely step-by-step, iterative, keep going in the right direction. Fantastic. So in terms of operations, the next question, Isha, what are the measures of success in GenAI performance, and how did you select the criteria?
Yeah, great question. Doreen, if possible, I'd love to do like a quick 45-second demo just to show what you
that would be great.
Then I can give more context to the answer. I had also joined late due to technical difficulties, so I didn't know how much time we have, but I'm going to do a quick demo. I'm just going to share my screen. Doreen or Reich, if you're able to give me sharing permissions, that would be fantastic.
Make presenter. There you are.
Perfect. Okay. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So this is Yoodli, Grammarly for Speech. Idea is if you have an upcoming speech, presentation, interview, or if you want to practice a crucial conversation, you can. And we'll have systems in the background that are analyzing your audio, video, and speech to give you feedback on, as I mentioned, tone, pitch, intonation, conciseness, structure. The idea is how can we bring a human coach in an automated way to help coaches and enablement firms and executives scale their business, but also for humans to have a judgment-free zone to practice whatever speaking engagement they have. So I can come and I'll go ahead and practice a presentation. Turn my video on. Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Isha, and I'm one of the, co-founders of Yoodli. It's crazy, in fact, shitty that 2 out of 3 people are afraid of public speaking. Oh my gosh, what can you do to help them? I think that, I'm gonna calm down and slow down because I'm really nervous being on this panel with all these super smart AI founders. But yeah, I really think that we can use this combo of, AI, generative AI, and something that's super revolutionary tech to disrupt speech coaching. And there's all these cool models out there. So yeah, I just think you should think about Yoodli because it's such a cool generative AI platform. Okay, not the best pitch. I can get an AI follow-up question. This is our first generative AI feedback.
That sounds interesting, Isha. Can you provide some specific examples of how your generative AI platform, Yoodli, can disrupt speech coaching?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what's happening here is I'm getting a very contextualized question based on the answer that I gave. And as I practice more on Yoodli, the feedback I get is more personalized based on what my weaknesses are, my strengths, and the goals I'm trying to achieve. Yeah, some examples are, we're really bringing personalized coaching to the masses with using some of these big, large language models and our own fine-tuned models. And it's really a way to democratize speech coaching and just communications coaching all around. Okay, I'm done. I'm gonna instantly get a report on what I said, how I said, along with how I did and ways to improve my speaking. So for example, I get this generated transcript where I can see my filler words. Wow, I have a lot of improvement. I can get feedback per question along with my AI partner. We are experimenting with different generative AI solutions to help customize coaching based on different customers we have. So customers can come and use their unique coaching method. In this case, we have a customer called Hatwell that is using Yoodli to scale their coaching in the financial tech industry. And so we've got something very specific around feedback they're giving. Continue to share personal anecdotes. Ensure your excitement doesn't speed up your speech too much as it may lead to the use of filler words. That's really good feedback. I can also get feedback on follow-up questions. These are questions that my audience might have asked me. Key points that my audience took away. I like to look at this and see, did I hit everything I wanted to talk about? And then as well as some rephrasings. So all of these are generative AI features we've included into the platform to help people become more confident communicators. It's free to get started at Yoodli.ai. Now that I've given context, Doreen, I'd love to hear the question again. Hopefully I'll be able to answer that with a little bit more setting in place.
Absolutely. What are your measures of success in GenAI performance, and how did you select these criteria?
Yeah, for us, our measurement of success is a few different things across the engineering foundation and the user experience side of things. So for us, are we able to personalize the feedback more based on what a user's goals are, and that we grab through qualitative means as well as surveys? And the second is, are we able to provide the feedback in a low friction and fast paced way, so with low latency? So these are our two measurements that we rigorously measure and improve over time.
Thank you, Isha. Kevin, I know you had some feedback to add to that question as well, in terms of what are your measures of success in GenAI performance and how did you select the criteria?
Yeah, I think fundamentally what our customers are buying is time and quality, right? So, what customers are looking for is, am I radically reducing the amount of time that my expensive clinicians are spending documenting what happened on the call? That's fundamentally what they care about. And then from an employee perspective, they're looking for employee engagement. One of the dirty secrets here is, you think that when you're in a call center environment, that people are going to think AI is going to take my job and everybody's like this. But in fact, agents hate documenting what they just did, right? So do we have engagement from the front line? And in fact, we do. We have a lot of pull from the front line and supervisors. So fundamentally, it's about reducing time, which reduces costs ultimately. And then secondly, am I keeping my agents happy? Those are the primary objectives. And then, of course, around all that, there are sub-metrics that are driving that. Things like how quickly are we doing this? How accurate is it, which drives the amount of time spent making any edits on a human-in-a-loop sort of way. But those are the primary factors.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You also touched in terms of adoption within the team, so I appreciate that. Isha, back to you on selecting a problem. What's the most significant impact of GenAI in production products? And do you see it bringing significant value to fintech?
Mute.
Thank you. Great question. The value we see bringing generative AI is helping, giving people an assist in self-serving their needs, whether it's a human that needs to be able to learn and grow as a speaker or an interview, giving them a tool that operates at their level and is personalized to them. Or if it's a coach, it's giving them AI coaching infrastructure to be more efficient coaches or enablement firms. Our customers aren't in the financial industry. They're more in sales enablement, executive coaching, career enablement. That's on the B2B side. And then on the B2C side, it's mainly individuals who have a hair on fire moment, like a speech or an upcoming interview. Both of them use this as a way, just to summarize, to be more efficient with the task they're trying to achieve.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Isha. Stefan, I have a question for you from the audience. Are AI models already adding value to your products, or are they currently not more than a nice to have add-on? Make sure you unmute.
Thanks, Doreen. Yeah. So we often see now companies starting to add one GenAI feature here, another there, just maybe to appear more shiny or just to give a competitive edge. For us, it's been clear that we can't accomplish our mission without use of GenAI. So GenAI has been at the core of our product, so at the core of Flowit from the word go. So what our main goal is to actually understand employees better, so drive employee engagement, understand their main problems, and for this we have to make use or make sense out of large amounts of data. If you go back to say prior to introducing Flowit, a lot of our clients were reading through questionnaire after questionnaire, yearly appraisal form after yearly appraisal form. With GenAI, we've heard the word efficiency a lot already. We can do this much more efficiently. So this is really a core and part of our DNA from the word go. So earlier, say prior to the GenAI, we were able to analyze numerical data very well. Now we're able to really figure out what the pain points are people have by giving them the possibility to write what their problems are, not just give answers on a scale from 1 to 10, where you already are more or less fixing what people can say. So to achieve this mission, we can't do it without GenAI. GenAI allows us to include directions and psychological patterns or psychological principles which we act by, and to give advice. So yeah, for us, it's really a core part of our product. And as I can see for the other examples and super interesting introduction and product demo we got before, I think it's not any different for all the other speakers.
Excellent. It seems like it really made it where you can make an actionable product, where it wasn't just flat information, it came alive for them. Really exciting. I bet a lot of us are hoping our companies deploy Flow at IT after we give them all the employee feedback. It's like, we want to see the change. You got the information. So I'm sure you're going to make a lot of employees happy when they benefit from it. Kevin, I have a question for you on a bias and drift models. How do you deal with having gaps in information causing fabricated statements or images? And what are the top 3 steps an organization should take when working to identify and reduce bias in AI when they use these in their business, or steps the user should be trained on to identify hallucinations and overwrite inputs from the systems?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the interesting things for us is like one of our investors is AI Grant, which is Nat Friedman, Daniel Gross, former CEO of GitHub and former ML leader for Apple. And we're batch 1 of AI Grant. Last year, Altman came in to speak with our group, talking about OpenAI, where they were on things. I think it was GPT-3 era, if you will, at the time. And one of the things he said was, there are certain things I can't figure out. And I said, like what? He said, like hallucinations, can't figure out why we can't solve hallucinations. And I said, well, we pretty much have. And he said, well, maybe you can for specific tasks. And what I'd say is we look at this, and when I look at the data, and don't get me wrong, I haven't looked at millions of records here, but when I look at the data, we're probably 2 orders of magnitude lower hallucinations than you see from generalized models. And why is that? It's because we have task-specific pre-trained models, and then we're fine-tuning the models based on customer data. And pretty much all the hallucinations you ever see in our models are what I'll call good hallucinations. So as an example, I'm deployed in medical device. And at the end of the conversation, the patient or the rep has some actions that they should do, and they often write those actions in their summary. And so we're emulating that. So a lot of times you might see that we've added into a summary, the agent sent a note to receiving to send out a new charger. We of course don't know that that happened, but it's a reminder to the agent that they should do that. And everything we do is human in the loop, right? So for us, we don't really have the problem with hallucinations. I out of all the summaries and such that I've ever looked at, I've probably seen one what I'll call outrageous hallucination in production in that environment.
Oh, that's fantastic. I think it definitely is because you have the fine tuning in a specialized area. So that's fantastic. Yep. So bias and drift questions. Well, there we are. So governance and security, and we have, I think, almost everyone is jumping on this one. Kevin, you want to take it first? What are you going to handle? What are you doing to handle governance and security of generative AI?
I mean, for us, I mean, we go through these generative AI committees with Fortune 500 companies, right? So a couple of things, right? In one case, we're actually deploying our models on customer infra, right? So from a security perspective, that gives customers great comfort. And then secondly, and that's probably actually the biggest thing, right, that we do is that we deploy on customer infra so that data never leaves their control. And customers that we talk to, they're not interested in sending their data to OpenAI. They're not interested in using OpenAI because they simply don't trust them, right? You go back to the Zoom incident last year where suddenly, oh, Zoom was stealing your data for the last year. Oh, oops. Not a situation in our case because we're on customer infra.
Excellent. Fantastic. And Ofer, would you like to also address the question in terms of how you're handling governance and security of generative AI?
Sure, I'm happy to. So one thing we did, we're building our own voice AI models, and we made it so there's no profile stored per user. We, in real time, as someone speaks, change their accent, but also their voice. We can make them sound like someone else. But it's paid voice actors that we've licensed. But the bigger point here is, yeah, we don't store profile, and we encrypt end to end, and we use big cloud providers like Google Cloud, and so all that helps with that stance. We also get things like SOC 2 compliance to help get through big company kind of processes. That's it.
Excellent, excellent. And Stefan, I believe you have something to add too in terms of how you're handling governance and security of generative AI.
Yeah, so conversely to Kevin's solution, we do use generalized models. And what we do to protect people is we anonymize data completely. So we only analyze anonymized data. And we have like an anonymization engine that we monitor very tightly. So we have anything where we do our analysis on is first anonymized and then processed, analyzed, etc. And yeah, I think that's the only thing to add.
Excellent. Anonymization first is always good. Well,
Stefan, could I
you,
actually ask a follow-up question on that to Stefan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, do you use your own redaction tool, or do you use a commercial off-the-shelf API solution, or what?
It's based on an open source solution, but we fine-tune it to our use case.
Got it. Thanks.
And Stefan, while we have you, did you like to discuss how the impact of AI is being received and recognized in a multi-generational workforce? Are there generations who are struggling with it? If so, what are the biggest issues?
Yeah, so for us, actually, our users are often like HR departments and often also people of older generations. So what we do is our goal is more or less, we have to, for governance reasons, maybe to add to before, specify where we use AI to analyze the data. So GDPR is very strict when it comes to specifying where AI is used. So there we have to make it clear that we use AI, and in particular GenAI, to analyze data. But for us, it's mainly about the interaction. So if it's a natural flow, then I think there's no boundaries between generations. So if you use a computer, and which everyone does, then there's actually no boundary there anymore. Yeah. So
Excellent.
more or less by intuitive, by making our platform intuitive, easy to use, we can more or less reduce these generational gaps that you were mentioning.
Very good. And was that your experience as well, Kevin?
Yeah, we don't really see any difference. I mean, I would boil this down to psychographic versus demographic, right? Are there people who, of all ages, who are opposed to X, Y, and Z, or kind of sticks in the mud? Sure. But I don't. My mom, was one of the first owners of computers I've ever, right, as a consumer, right? So I think it really doesn't depend on demographics. It's psychographic profile of the individual.
Very good. And Isha, was that about the same for you with Yoodli? No issues between the generations? Welcomed by all, as long as they like tech?
Absolutely. I mean, we find that our consumers are extremely receptive to generative AI solutions, and because they've grown up with it and they expect it, right? So much of the industry is promoting the use of AI as an assistant in various functions. And so speech coaching, interview coaching is not exempt from that. So people expect the low latency, the personalized feedback, the quick instant feedback, and the ability to track progress over time as a educational self-improvement tool. On the enterprise side, with some of our enterprises, as some of the other folks have mentioned, they expect top of the line privacy and security. So we have SOC 2. We also have many measurements in place around being able to exclude enterprise users' data from our training models. But third, on the coaching side, whereas some of our either larger executive coaching firms or smaller coaching firms, they span different generations. So there's a little bit of tech challenge and explaining there, but still they're open to the presence of AI, and are many of them are responding positively to it, given that it's such a talked about force nowadays. And so it's a challenge, but people are responsive, and that's been beneficial for our business.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Ofer, any thoughts on generative AI and search engine optimization as it relates to website content?
So I worked at Google for 7 years, but not on the search side, but still got to know a little bit about that business. So yeah, the way that I would approach Gen AI and search is, it's a great place to ideate and come up with like topics to write about, and also it's a good place to get draft versions of things. But you want to then go in and put in your own words, and really like the deepest kind of expertise is still coming from human experts. Like you're not going to get amazing insights from GenAI. You'll cobble together some things online that are maybe more widely known. So I would say like use it to accelerate your work. You can sometimes like save hours and hours and hours of work creating content, but still, yeah, that human in the loop needs to happen. Google hasn't yet put out a position around whether it would ding you for detected generate content. You can imagine they can detect it pretty well. So the jury's still out, but you're playing with fire in some ways if you're just like generating and putting it out without any review.
God, always got to keep the human in the loop. There was one other question on GenAI in fintech, but I'd like to call attention to this week's research. On YouTube, we had the full video set of all of our videos from fintech, and it looks like we'll be having a panel on fintech and GenAI in April. So that was our last question. So within closing in our announcements, if you enjoyed today's session and you're like, wow, it'd be great if I could get TBW advisors on a Teams call and bounce our questions off of you, or you want to make sure your problems are top of mind while we're out there at all of our conferences, be sure to ping me on LinkedIn, love to help, or go to TBW Advisors and click on Become a Client and set up a time. If you watch the panelists and you're thinking, wow, I need to get my speaking game up, maybe even inspired by watching the Yoodli presentation, I am founding a new Toastmasters chapter as part of my Distinguished Toastmaster journey. And the first meeting is going to be March 29th at 2 p.m. Pacific, every Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific. And the link will be on our TBW's site, and be sure, as well as on LinkedIn. And ping me for the link if you don't see it. Conference Whispers FinTech Meetup. The videos were published earlier this week. The research is at fact check right now. So anyone on the call who I met this week at FinTech Meetup, be sure to get your fact check back to me because it's going to customers at 10 a.m. tomorrow. By the way, if you are a client, you get the research immediately when it's published. If you're not a client, you only get the bits and pieces that happen to pop out on LinkedIn when I feel like posting and sharing some of it after the fact. Industry Whisper, celebrating women in tech. Next Friday at 10, we are having a webinar with an amazing collection of women in tech. Be sure to sign up and submit some great questions for a great conversation. Conference Whispers, Internet 2.0 and Health 2.0. Coverage will occur in 2 weeks, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can catch the content when it gets loaded up immediately from the conference floor. Conference Whispers Adobe 2024 is coming as well. We have our press pass for that. And subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on LinkedIn to make sure you don't miss any content. This has been an amazing session. Thank you, everyone, and have an amazing day.